I didn't see the punch coming. 1 minute, I was wiping down the counter of the coffee shop where I worked, and the next, I was on the floor, my jaw throbbing and a customer screaming at me. "You're what's wrong with this country," he yelled, his face red with rage. "Pushing your agenda on us." My rainbow pin, small, pinned to my apron, must have set him off. I scrambled to my feet, heart pounding, as my manager rushed over, yelling at the guy to leave. He stormed out, but not before spitting on the floor and calling me a freak. I stood there, shaking, the taste of blood in my mouth. "My name's Casey. I'm 29, and I've lived in Asheville, North Carolina, my whole life. It's a quirky mountain town, artsy and progressive in spots, but still the South. Some folks here tolerate people like me, gay, unapologetic, but others? They'd rather see me gone." That night, I locked up the shop, my hands still trembling. I'd always known my identity could spark trouble, but this was the first time it turned physical. As I walked home, I couldn't stop thinking about the bigger mess, how people debate my right to exist like it's a political talking point. Same-sex marriage is legal, sure, but try convincing half this town it's not destroying America. And don't get me started on the bathroom bills or the folks who think I shouldn't coach Little League because of who I love. By the time I got to my apartment, I was a wreck. I needed to feel something, anything besides fear. So I texted Riley. We dated years ago, back when I was too scared to admit how much he meant to me. He was in town visiting family, and I hadn't seen him since I'd push him away. "Hey, you free tonight?" I typed, my thumb hovering over send before I hit it. He replied fast, "Yeah, meet me at the park." An hour later, we were sitting on a bench in Pack Square, the city lights flickering around us. Riley looked the same, wavy black hair, sharp jaw, eyes that cut through me. We talked about safe stuff at first, his job in Atlanta, my shifts at the shop. But then he brought up the past. "I never understood why you ended it," he said, his voice low. "I thought we had something real." I swallowed hard. I was terrified, Riley, of this town, of myself. I didn't think I deserved you. He studied me, then slid closer. And now, I met his gaze, my pulse racing. Now I'm tired of running. That was all it took. He leaned in, and I met him halfway, our lips crashing together like we'd been starving for it. Years of regret and longing poured out in that kiss. We stumbled back to my place, hands tugging at shirts, breaths heavy with need. When we hit the bed, it was electric. Every touch a spark, every movement a release of everything we'd held back. It wasn't just heat. It was connection, like we were rewriting the past in each other's arms. After, we lay there, tangled and breathless. Riley's fingers brushed my cheek, and he whispered, "I've waited for this." "Me too," I said, my voice cracking. For once, I felt whole, like maybe I could face this messy world with him beside me. But as I drifted off, a question lingered. How long could this last in a place that still wanted me silenced? The morning after Riley and I reconnected, I woke to the sound of my phone buzzing like an angry hornet. I reached over, careful not to wake him, and saw a flood of notifications. My stomach dropped as I opened the first one, a screenshot of a local Facebook group post. "Coffee shop on Patton Avenue hires deviants who flaunt their lifestyle," it read, with a blurry photo of me wearing my rainbow pin. The comments were worse. "Boycott them. This is why we need to protect our kids. He's a danger to society." I sat up, my heart hammering. The guy who'd punched me yesterday must have posted this. Asheville's a small town when it comes to gossip, and now my face was plastered online, tied to a hate campaign. Riley stirred, rubbing his eyes. "What's wrong, Casey?" I showed him the post, my hands shaking. "This is my life here. One wrong move, and I'm a target." He pulled me close, his warmth steadying me. "You don't deserve this. We'll figure it out." But figuring it out wasn't so simple. By the time I got to work, my manager, Sarah, was waiting for me. She was a no-nonsense woman in her 40s, usually fair, but stressed today. "Casey, we need to talk," she said, leading me to the back office. "The owner's getting calls about you. People are threatening to boycott because of, well, you know, my pin." I asked, my voice sharp. "Or the fact that I'm gay?" She sighed. "It's the attention. They're saying you're pushing an agenda, and it's bad for business. I hate this as much as you do, but the owner wants you to take the pin off and keep a low profile. I clench my fists. I'm supposed to hide who I am because some jerk can't handle a rainbow? It's not fair, Sarah said, but it's temporary, just until this blows over. I walked out of her office, fuming. This wasn't just about a pin. It was about my right to exist without apology. All day, I felt customers' eyes on me, some sympathetic, others cold. One woman even whispered sinner as she grabbed her latte. I wanted to scream, but I kept my head down, pouring coffee and forcing smiles. That evening, Riley met me after my shift at a diner on Marymount Avenue. Over greasy burgers, we talked about the bigger picture, how free speech gets twisted into a weapon. They hide behind free expression to spread hate, I said, stabbing a fry into ketchup. But when I wear a pin, I'm the one pushing something? Riley nodded. It's a double standard. They scream about their rights while trying to silence yours. But you're not alone in this, Casey. You've got me. His words warmed me, but doubt crept in. Riley lived in Atlanta, a bigger, more accepting city. Could he really understand what it was like to fight this battle in a place like Asheville, where progress and prejudice clash daily? The next day, things got messy. I was wiping down tables when a group of college students walked in, one of them wearing a t-shirt that said free speech equals truth. I recognized her, Jenna, a regular who loved debating politics. She approached the counter, her friends trailing behind. Casey, right? She said, her tone friendly but pointed. I saw the post about you. I don't agree with the hate, but don't you think you're inviting trouble by wearing that pin? Free speech goes both ways. I froze, gripping the rag in my hand. So I should hide who I am because it makes some people uncomfortable? I'm just saying, Jenna continued, you're in a public job. Maybe keep personal stuff private to avoid conflict. Her words stung, not because they were cruel, but because they sounded reasonable to her. I wanted to argue, to tell her that my existence wasn't personal stuff to be tucked away, but a customer interrupted, and Jenna left with her coffee. I felt like I'd lost a chance to stand up for myself. That night, I went to a community meeting at the Asheville LGBTQ+ Center, hoping to find clarity. Riley came along, his hand brushing mine as we walked in. The room was packed, queer folks, allies, and a few curious locals. The topic was navigating hate in public spaces, and the discussion quickly turned heated. A trans woman named Maya stood up, her voice shaking. I got kicked out of a bar last week because they said I was confusing customers. How is that fair? Why do we have to shrink ourselves to make others comfortable? A man in the back responded, Look, I support you, but businesses have rights too. If customers complain, they've got to protect their bottom line. I couldn't stay quiet. I raised my hand and said, I got punched at work for wearing a rainbow pin. Now my job's on the line because of a Facebook post. If we keep saying businesses have rights, what about our rights? Why do we have to hide to avoid a fist? The room erupted in murmurs, some nodding, others shifting uncomfortably. Maya caught my eye and gave me a small smile, like we were in this together. The debate raged on. Free speech versus hate speech, individual rights versus collective safety. I left feeling both validated and drained, wondering where the line was. Later, Riley and I sat on my couch, the glow of a candle casting shadows. You were fierce tonight, he said, his fingers tracing my arm. I forgot how strong you are. I laughed, but it was hollow. I don't feel strong. I feel like I'm fighting a losing battle. He tilted my chin up, his eyes locking with mine. You're not losing. You're still here, still you. That's the win. His words ignited something in me, a spark of defiance, of desire. I pulled him close, our kisses urgent, like we were claiming every second we had. We moved to the bedroom, shedding doubts with our clothes. Each touch was a rebellion, a reminder that love could thrive even in a world that tried to stamp it out. We held each other after, hearts pounding, and for a moment, the chaos outside didn't matter. But the next morning, reality crashed back. My phone lit up with a text from Sarah. Casey, we need to take a few days off. The owner's getting threats now. I am sorry. I stared at the screen, my throat tight. Riley was still asleep, his arm draped over me, but I felt alone. Was this my fault for being too visible, or was it theirs for refusing to see me? As I lay there, a new plan formed, a risky one. I'd fight back, not with fists, but with words, with community. But first, I needed to face the storm head-on. The text from Sarah, telling me to take a few days off, burned in my mind as I stood outside the coffee shop, peering through the window. Inside, a new barista was fumbling with the espresso machine, while customers glanced at the counter where I used to stand. I felt like a ghost, erased from my own life. Asheville's morning buzz carried on, but I was stuck, wondering if I'd ever get my job back. Riley found me there, his hand brushing my shoulder. "Casey, you can't keep torturing yourself. Let's go." I nodded, but my feet felt glued to the sidewalk. "It's not just a job, Riley. It's a message. They're saying I don't belong." He squeezed my hand. "Then prove them wrong. Fight back." His words echoed my half-formed plan from last night, but fighting back meant stepping into a bigger mess. I decided to organize a public response, a rally, maybe, or a statement with the LGBTQ+ Center. But Asheville wasn't just split on gay rights. It was a tangle of debates about race, gender, and who gets to claim space. I wasn't sure I had the strength to navigate it all. We headed to a breakfast spot on Haywood Street, where I met Maya, the trans woman from the community meeting. She was a graphic designer, tall, with a warm smile, and she'd offered to help with flyers for whatever I planned. Over pancakes, we hashed out ideas, but the conversation took a sharp turn when Maya brought up her latest project. "I'm designing posters for a women's march next month," she said, sipping her coffee. "It's about equal pay, reproductive rights, the usual. But some folks are mad because we're including trans women. They say it dilutes the real women's issues." I frowned. "That's ridiculous. Gender equality's for everyone, not just cis women." Maya shrugged. "Try telling that to the organizers. Half of them want to keep it biological women only. It's like I'm welcome until I'm not." Riley leaned in. "Sounds like what Casey's dealing with. People say they're allies, but when push comes to shove, they'd rather you stay quiet." I thought about Sarah, my manager, who'd always seemed supportive but caved when the owner pressured her. Allies were tricky. Great until the cost got too high. I wanted to believe in solidarity, but doubt gnawed at me. As we left the diner, a new twist hit. A black teenager, maybe 16, approached us holding a stack of flyers. "You Casey from the coffee shop?" he asked, his voice hesitant. "Yeah," I said, bracing myself. "What's up?" "I'm Jamal. I saw that Facebook post about you. My brother's gay, and he's been getting crap at school. I want to help with whatever you're planning. People need to stop hating." His earnestness caught me off guard. "Thanks, Jamal. I'm working on something, a rally maybe. You in?" He nodded, but Maya's expression tightened. "Be careful, Casey. Mixing causes can get messy. Folks here get touchy when you bring race and queer issues. They'll say you're dividing the movement." I hadn't considered that. Asheville prided itself on being progressive, but I'd heard whispers about white privilege in local activism. How queer spaces often centered white voices, leaving people like Jamal or Maya on the sidelines. I didn't want to mess this up, but I also couldn't ignore Jamal's offer. That afternoon, I met with a small group at the LGBTQ+ Center to plan the rally. Jamal showed up, along with Maya, Riley, and a few others, including a white woman named Ellen, who ran a local feminist bookshop. We settled on a date and a message. Love is not a threat. But tension bubbled up fast. Ellen spoke first. "We should focus on LGBTQ+ rights. Keep it clear. If we start adding race or other issues, it'll confuse people." Jamal crossed his arms. "My brother's getting bullied for being black and gay. You can't separate those. Racism's part of his fight." Ellen's face reddened. "I'm not saying it's not important, but we need a unified message. If we throw in too much, people won't show up." Maya jumped in. "And what about trans folks? I'm tired of being an afterthought in these unified messages. If we're fighting for equality, it's got to include all of us." I felt the room slipping out of my control. "Okay, hold on," I said, raising my hands. "We're all here because we're tired of being silenced. Let's not silence each other. Can we agree to call out hate in all its forms? Homophobia, racism, transphobia? There were nods, but Ellen looked skeptical, and Jamal's jaw was tight. I knew this was just the start of the friction. Organizing meant wading through everyone's pain, and I wasn't sure I was ready to mediate it all. The next day, I got a call from Sarah. Casey, good news. The owner's cooling off. You can come back tomorrow, but no pin, okay? And try to stay out of the spotlight. I wanted to argue, but I needed the job. Fine, I said, hanging up. Riley, who'd been crashing at my place, overheard and shook his head. You're letting them win, he said, his voice soft but firm. I'm not, I snapped. I'm surviving. You don't get it. You're in Atlanta, where you can be out and proud. Here, I'm one wrong step from losing everything. He flinched and guilt hit me. I'm sorry, I said, reaching for his hand. I'm just scared. I know, he said, pulling me into a hug. But you're not alone. I'm staying in Asheville a bit longer. We'll face this together. His words steadied me, but the rally loomed, and so did the risk of more backlash. I spent the evening with Jamal, helping him design flyers at a library downtown. He opened up about his brother, Malik, who'd been suspended from school after fighting back against bullies. The principal said he was disruptive, Jamal said, his voice bitter. But the kids who called him slurs? Nothing happened to them. That's not right, I said, my anger flaring. Schools should protect kids, not punish them for who they are. Jamal nodded. That's why I'm helping you. If we don't speak up, nothing changes. His determination lit a fire in me, but also made me question myself. Was I doing enough? Could I really lead this rally without screwing it up? The next morning, I returned to work, pin-free and hating every second of it. Customers whispered, and I caught Sarah watching me like I might explode. During my break, I checked my phone and saw a new post in the same Facebook group, Rally for Love Plan by that coffee shop guy. Don't let them brainwash our town. Comments called for a counter-protest, some even hinting at violence. My hand shook as I showed Riley the post that night. This is getting out of hand, I said, pacing my apartment. What if someone gets hurt? He grabbed my shoulders, his eyes fierce. You're not backing down, Casey. You're giving people like Jamal and Maya a voice. That's worth the risk. I wanted to believe him, but fear clawed at me. The rally was in 3 days, and I had no idea if it would unite people or tear us apart. As I lay awake that night, Riley's arm around me, I thought about Malik, Maya, and all the others counting on me. I wasn't a hero, just a guy who'd taken a punch and refused to stay down. But maybe that was enough to start something. I woke to the sound of shattering glass. My heart lurched as I bolted upright, Riley stirring beside me. What was that? He whispered, his voice thick with sleep. I stumbled to the window of my Asheville apartment, peering into the pre-dawn gloom. Below, my car's windshield was a spiderweb of cracks, a brick lying on the hood. Scrawled across the side in red spray paint were the words, "Freaks out." I stood frozen, my breath catching. This wasn't just a Facebook post or a whispered slur. This was my home, my safety violated. Riley grabbed my arm, pulling me back. Casey, call the cops. Now, I did, but as I waited for them to show up, dread settled in. The rally was 2 days away, and the counter-protest threats were no longer just online. Someone knew where I lived. Riley stayed close, his presence grounding me, but I couldn't shake the fear that I dragged everyone, Jamal, Maya, the whole community, into a fight we might not win. The police came, took photos, and asked questions, but their shrugs told me they didn't expect to catch anyone. Probably just kids, one officer said, scribbling in his notebook. You've been stirring up trouble lately? I bit my tongue, resisting the urge to snap. Stirring up trouble? All I'd done was exist, wear a pin, plan a rally, refuse to hide. After they left, I called Maya and Jamal, warning them to be careful. Maya's voice was steady but strained. This is why we fight, Casey. They want us scared. Jamal was quieter. My mom's freaking out. She doesn't want me at the rally anymore. I sighed. I get it. You don't have to come, Jamal. I don't want anyone in danger. No, he said firmly. I'm in. For Malik. His resolve bolstered mine, but the weight of responsibility pressed harder. At work that day, I kept my head down, pouring coffee while Sarah hovered nervously. Customers avoided my eyes, and I overheard one mutter about that rally troublemaker. I wanted to quit to run, but Riley's words echoed. You're giving people a voice. I couldn't back out now. That evening, I met the rally team at a community center on Patton Avenue. The group had grown. About 20 people now, including Maya, Jamal, and Ellen, the bookstore owner who'd clashed with Jamal last time. A new face joined us. Dr. Lena Carter, a black professor from UNC Asheville who taught gender studies and had a reputation for stirring up debate. She'd heard about our rally and wanted to speak. We need to talk about intersectionality, Lena said, her voice commanding the room. This rally can't just be about LGBTQ plus rights. It's about how homophobia, racism, and sexism lock arms. If we ignore that, we're failing. Ellen shifted uncomfortably. I agree, but we're already fighting an uphill battle. If we make it too broad, we'll lose focus. People want simple messages. Jamal rolled his eyes. Simple for who? My brother's school won't protect him because he's black and gay. You can't pick one fight and ignore the other. Lena nodded. Exactly. And let's talk about affirmative action in education. Schools like Malik's claim they're colorblind, but that just means they ignore systemic bias. Queer kids of color get disciplined harder, expelled faster. If we're rallying for equality, we need to call that out. I listened, my mind racing. Affirmative action was a lightning rod. Some saw it as fairness, others as reverse racism. In Asheville, where progressive ideals often clashed with old-school attitudes, Lena's point could either unite us or spark more hate. But she was right. Malik's story wasn't just about homophobia. It was about a system that failed him twice over. The discussion turned to identity issues in education. Maya brought up a local high school where trans students were barred from using their preferred bathrooms. The school board says it's about safety, she said, her voice bitter. But it's just transphobia dressed up as policy. And don't get me started on sports. Trans girls can't even try out for teams. Ellen hesitated, then spoke. I get the bathroom thing, but sports is tricky. Some parents worry about fairness for cis girls. Maya's eyes flashed. Fairness? Trans girls are girls. Excluding them isn't fair, it's discrimination. I jumped in trying to keep things civil. We're not here to solve every debate, but we can agree that kids deserve to feel safe at school. Right? Trans, cis, gay, straight, black, white doesn't matter. That's what the rally's about. There were nods, but the tension lingered. I felt like I was juggling fire, and one wrong move could burn us all. Lena pulled me aside after the meeting. You're doing good, Casey, but be ready. When you call out systems, schools, policies, privilege, people get defensive. Especially here. Her warning stuck with me as I walked home with Riley. Asheville streets were quiet, but I kept glancing over my shoulder, the brick on my car still fresh in my mind. Do you think I'm in over my head? I asked him. He stopped, turned to face me. You're scared, and that's okay. But you're not alone. I'm here, and so are they. He nodded toward the community center behind us. I wanted to believe him, but doubt gnawed at me. What if the rally turned violent? What if I let everyone down? The next day, I got a call from Jamal's mother, Tanya. She was polite, but firm. I appreciate what you're doing, Casey, but I can't let Jamal go to that rally. Not after what happened to your car. And I heard there's a counter-protest planned. It's too dangerous. I try to reassure her. We're working with the police for security. I'll keep Jamal safe, I promise. She paused, then said, You seem like a good man, but you don't know what it's like for us. My boys face enough as it is. I can't risk losing them. Her words hit hard. I've been so focused on my own fight, homophobia, the coffee shop, the pin, that I hadn't fully grasped the stake for Jamal and Malik. Their blackness added a layer of danger I couldn't fully understand, no matter how much I cared. I promised to respect her wishes, but when I hung up, I felt like I'd failed Jamal. That night, I sat with Riley at a bar on Biltmore Avenue, nursing a soda. I thought this rally would bring people together, I said, staring at the table. But it's just showing me how divided we are. Riley reached for my hand. You're not dividing anyone. You're shining a light on what's already there. That's how change starts. His faith in me was a lifeline, but the rally was tomorrow, and the counter-protest loomed like a storm cloud. I checked my phone and saw a new email from Lena with a draft of her speech. It was powerful, weaving together Malik's school struggles, Maya's fight for trans inclusion, and my own battle at the coffee shop. But one line stood out: equality isn't a zero-sum game. Lifting up one group doesn't mean tearing down another. I showed it to Riley, and he smiled. She's right. You're not just fighting for yourself, Casey. You're fighting for all of them. His words sparked a flicker of hope, but as we left the bar, I saw a group of guys across the street staring at us. One wore a shirt with a crossed-out rainbow. My pulse spiked, and I grabbed Riley's arm, hurrying us away. The rally was hours away, and I couldn't shake the feeling that we were walking into a trap. The morning of the rally, I stood in my Asheville apartment, staring at the cracked mirror above my dresser. My reflection looked tired. Eyes shadowed from sleepless nights, jaw still faintly bruised from that punch weeks ago. The brick through my car window felt like a warning shot, and today I was walking into the crosshairs. The rally was hours away, and the counter-protest loomed like a gathering storm. I wanted to believe we could change hearts, but fear whispered I'd only make things worse. Riley knocked on the bathroom door, holding 2 mugs of coffee. "You okay, Casey?" His voice was steady, but his eyes searched mine for cracks. I forced a smile, just psyching myself up. "You sure you're ready for this?" He set the mugs down and pulled me into a hug. "I'm not going anywhere. We've got this." His warmth anchored me, but as we headed to Pack Square, my stomach churned. The rally was set for noon, and Maya had texted that volunteers were already setting up signs and a small stage. Jamal, despite his mom's fears, had convinced her to let him come, promising to stay near the back. Lena, the professor, was finalizing her speech, and even Ellen, the skeptical bookstore owner, had agreed to hand out flyers. We were a ragtag crew, united by hope but fraying under pressure. When we arrived, the square was buzzing. About 100 people milled around, queer folks, allies, families with kids holding rainbow signs. Maya waved us over, her trans pride flag draped over her shoulders. "Look at this turnout," she said, grinning. "You did this, Casey." I shook my head. "We did this, but let's not celebrate yet." Across the street, a smaller group was forming, maybe 30 people, holding signs that read "Protect our values" and "Keep Asheville pure." My pulse spiked as I recognized one of them, the guy who'd punched me at the coffee shop. His glare found me, and I looked away, gripping Riley's hand. The rally began with a local musician singing a folk tune about unity, but my eyes kept darting to the counter-protesters. Their shouts grew louder, drowning out the music. "Go back to Atlanta!" One yelled, clearly aimed at Riley and me. "Stop corrupting our town!" Lena took the stage, her voice cutting through the noise. "We're here because love isn't a threat," she said, her words sharp and clear. "But hate is. Hate that targets queer kids in schools, black families in their homes, trans people in their own bodies. We're not asking for special rights, just the right to exist." The crowd cheered, but the counter-protesters booed, waving their signs. One caught my eye. "Life begins at conception." I frowned, confused. This was a rally for LGBTQ plus rights. Why bring abortion into it? Then I saw her, a woman in her 50s, holding the sign, shouting, "You're all sinners defying God's plan." Maya leaned over, whispering, "That's Karen Holt. She's big in the local pro-life movement. Guess she's here to lump us in with her crusade." I clenched my jaw. Abortion was a firestorm in Asheville, like everywhere else. Pro-life folks like Karen saw it as murder. Pro-choice advocates fought for bodily autonomy. I'd always leaned pro-choice. Nobody should be forced to carry a pregnancy, but I knew better than to wade into that debate today. Still, Karen's presence felt like a deliberate jab, tying our fight to her agenda. The rally continued, with Maya sharing her story of being barred from a bar for being trans. Jamal spoke next, his voice shaking but strong. "My brother Malik gets called names at school, and the teachers look the other way. He's black and gay, and that makes him a target. We need schools to protect kids, not punish them. The crowd roared, but Karen's group shouted back, "Teach morality, not perversion." I scanned the square, spotting police officers on the edges, their hands resting on radios. The air felt electric, like a spark could ignite it all. Then came the twist. A young woman from our side, maybe 20, with pink hair and a nose ring, marched toward the counter-protesters, holding a sign that read, "My body, my choice." She planted herself in front of Karen, yelling, "You don't get to control my womb or my identity." Karen screamed back, "You're killing babies and defying nature." The crowd surged, some cheering the pink-haired woman, others booing Karen. I rushed forward, heart pounding, trying to calm things down, but Riley grabbed my arm. "Casey, don't," he said. "You'll make it worse." He was right, but I felt helpless watching the chaos unfold. The police moved in, separating the groups, but not before a counter-protester shoved the pink-haired woman. She stumbled, and Jamal darted forward to help her up. A cop misinterpreted, grabbing Jamal's arm and twisting it behind his back. "No!" I shouted, pushing through the crowd. "He's just helping her." Maya was right behind me, yelling at the cop to let go. The officer released Jamal, but the damage was done. Jamal's face was a mask of anger and fear, and Tanya, his mom, who'd been watching from the sidelines, ran over, tears in her eyes. "I told you this was dangerous," she snapped at me, pulling Jamal away. Guilt crushed me. I'd promised to keep him safe, and now he was caught in the mess I'd helped create. The rally limped on, with Lena wrapping up her speech, but the energy had shifted. People were rattled, whispering about the clash, the police, the counter-protesters. Karen's group dispersed, smirking like they'd won. Afterward, I found Jamal and Tanya near the stage. "I'm so sorry," I said, my voice cracking. "I didn't mean for this to happen." Tanya's eyes softened, but her voice was firm. "I know you meant well, Casey, but this town's not safe for my boys. Not for rallies, not for being themselves. You're fighting for your truth, but don't forget ours." Her words cut deep. I've been so focused on homophobia, I hadn't fully grasped how racism amplified Jamal and Malik's struggles. Asheville's progressive veneer hid ugly truths. Black kids like them face suspicion, even from cops meant to protect them. I nodded, unable to find words, and watched them leave. Riley and I headed to a quiet cafe on College Street, where Maya joined us. She looked exhausted, her flag now folded in her lap. "That was a disaster," she said, stirring her tea. "We wanted unity, but we got a shouting match." "It wasn't all bad," Riley offered. "People heard us. Jamal's speech, Lena's words, they mattered." I wanted to agree, but Tanya's warning echoed. Maybe we pushed too hard. Abortion, race, trans rights, it's all connected, but it's like we gave them more ammo to hate us. Maya shook her head. "No, Casey. We can't shrink our fight to make them comfortable. Karen's out there tying us to her pro-life crusade, but we're not the ones conflating issues. They are." She was right, but the rally had exposed fractures, not just between us and them, but within our own group. The pink-haired woman's stunt had shifted focus, and Jamal's run-in with the cop had left a scar. I wondered if we could ever bridge the gaps. That night, Riley and I sat on my couch, the weight of the day pressing down. "I feel like I let everyone down," I admitted, staring at the floor. He tilted my chin up, his eyes fierce. "You showed up, Casey. You gave people a chance to be heard. That's not failure." His faith kept me afloat, but as I lay awake later, I couldn't shake the image of Jamal's face or Tanya's tears. The counter-protesters were planning another event, and whispers of a school board meeting about parental rights were circling. Our fight was far from over, and I had to decide how to keep going without losing myself or those I cared about. The fallout from the rally clung to me like damp clothes. I couldn't shake the image of Jamal's arm twisted by the cop or Tanya's tear-streaked face as she pulled him away. Asheville streets felt different now, less like home, more like a battleground. I was back at the coffee shop, pouring lattes under Sarah's watchful eye, but every customer's glance felt like a judgment. The rally had made waves, but had also painted a bigger target on my back. Riley was still in town, his Atlanta life on pause, and his presence kept me from unraveling. But even he couldn't shield me from the latest bombshell. I was scrolling my phone during a break when I saw it. An email from the Asheville City School Board announcing an emergency meeting to discuss parental rights and student safety. The agenda included a proposal to ban trans students from sports teams matching their gender identity and to limit discussions of controversial topics like sexuality in classrooms. My heart sank. This was about kids like Malik, Maya, and every queer student trying to survive. I showed the email to Maya at a vegan cafe on Lexington Avenue that evening. She read it, her jaw tightening. "They're not even hiding it," she said. "This is a direct attack on trans kids. And controversial topics? That's code for silencing anything about us." Riley, sitting across from us, frowned. "It's not just about schools. They're framing it as protecting kids, but it's about control. And guess who's funding this push?" I raised an eyebrow. "Who?" He slid his phone over, showing a local news article. A wealthy real estate developer, Greg Thornton, was bankrolling the parental rights campaign. He made millions buying up Asheville's historic buildings, turning them into luxury condos while locals struggled with rising rents. "Thornton's been dodging taxes for years," Riley said. "He funnels money through loopholes, pays pennies, then uses his wealth to push agendas like this. It's income inequality in action. Rich guys like him get richer while the rest of us fight for scraps." I leaned back, processing. Taxation and income distribution weren't my usual battles, but Riley's point hit home. People like Thornton could sway school boards, fund hate, and never feel the pinch, while folks like me, scraping by on barista wages, face the fallout. It wasn't just about being gay or trans. It was about a system that let the powerful drown out the rest of us. "We need to show up to that meeting," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "If we don't, they'll steamroll those kids." Maya nodded, but her eyes were wary. "It's going to be a circus, Casey. Thornton's got deep pockets, and his supporters are loud. You saw what happened at the rally." She was right, but I couldn't sit this out. I texted Jamal, hoping he'd join us, but his reply was curt. "Mom says no way." Sorry, I didn't blame Tanya. After the rally, she was protecting her son. Still, it stung, like another piece of our coalition was slipping away. The school board meeting was set for the next evening at a high school auditorium on Haywood Road. Riley, Maya, and I arrived early, joining a small group from the LGBTQ+ Center. Lena, the professor, was there too, her notebook filled with stats on trans youth mental health. Across the room, Thornton's supporters gathered, mostly older, white, and clutching "Protect Our Kids" signs. I spotted Karen Holt, the pro-life activist from the rally, whispering to a man in a suit. My gut told me it was Thornton himself. The meeting started with a packed agenda, but the real fight came when the board introduced the sports and curriculum proposals. A mother named Susan took the mic, her voice shaking with anger. "My daughter shouldn't have to compete against boys in soccer," she said, glaring at Maya. "It's not fair, and it's not safe." Maya stood, her voice calm but firm. "I'm a trans woman, not a boy. Trans girls just want to play like anyone else. Studies show no competitive advantage after hormone therapy. This ban isn't about fairness. It's about exclusion." The room erupted, Thornton supporters shouting, "Science is real," while our side clapped for Maya. I wanted to speak, but my throat tightened. Then Lena took the mic, her presence commanding. "Banning trans kids from sports doesn't protect anyone," she said. "It raises their risk of depression and suicide. And restricting classroom discussions? That's censoring truth. Kids need to learn about diverse identities, not be shielded from them." Thornton stood next, his suit pristine, his voice smooth. "I'm a parent, and I care about our schools. We need policies that prioritize fairness and safety, not divisive ideologies. My taxes fund these schools. I want my voice heard." I couldn't stay quiet. I grabbed the mic, my hands trembling. My taxes fund these schools too, and I'm a gay man who's been attacked for existing. Kids like me deserve to see themselves in classrooms, not erased. And trans kids deserve to play sports, not be singled out. This isn't about safety, it's about fear. The crowd roared, some cheering, others booing. Thornton's eyes narrowed, and I felt exposed, like I'd just painted a bullseye on myself. The board chair called for order, but the damage was done. The meeting ended with no decision, just a promise to review feedback. As we left, Karen Holt brushed past me, muttering, "You're tearing this town apart." Outside, a new shock waited. Someone had slashed the tires of Maya's car, parked in the lot. She stared at the damage, her shoulders slumping. "This is what happens when you speak up," she said, her voice hollow. Riley called a tow truck, and I helped Maya gather her things. "I'm sorry," I said, guilt choking me. "This is my fault for pushing the rally." "The meeting stop," Maya cut in. "This isn't on you. It's on them. Thornton, Karen, all of them. They're scared because we're not backing down." Her words sparked a flicker of resolve, but the weight of the night pressed hard. Back at my apartment, Riley and I sat on the couch, the silence heavy. "I didn't realize how deep this goes," I admitted. "Thornton's money, the school board, the vandalism, it's all connected." Riley nodded. "It's always been connected. Wealth buys influence, and influence buys control. But you're fighting it, Casey." That's what scares them. I wanted to believe him, but doubt crept in. Had I pushed too far? Was I dragging Maya, Jamal, and others into a fight we couldn't win? I thought about the kids in those schools. Trans teens barred from teams, queer kids silenced in class. They were why I kept going, but the cost was mounting. The next morning, I got a call from Sarah. "Casey, the owner's freaking out about your speech at the meeting. He's getting emails from Thornton's people threatening to pull business. I hate to say it, but you're on thin ice." I hung up, my chest tight. Losing my job was one thing, but losing this fight would hurt more. Riley, sensing my spiral, pulled me close. "You're not alone," he said, his voice a lifeline. "We'll find a way." That afternoon, I met Lena at a park near the French Broad River. She had an idea. A petition to the school board, signed by parents, teachers, and students, demanding inclusive policies. "It's grassroots," she said. "Thornton's got money, but we've got people." Her plan gave me hope, but as I walked back to town, I saw a new flyer stapled to a pole. "Emergency Town Hall. Stop the woke agenda." Thornton's name was at the bottom, alongside Karen Holt's. The date was set for next week, and I knew it was their counterattack. I showed the flyer to Riley, my hand shaking. "They're not stopping," I said, "and neither can we." He nodded, his jaw set. "Then let's get ready. This is bigger than us now." The week before Greg Thornton stopped the woke agenda, Town Hall felt like a countdown to war. Asheville's air buzzed with tension, flyers plastered on every pole, social media ablaze with arguments, and whispers of more vandalism. My car still sat in the shop, its slashed tires a reminder of the cost of speaking out. I was barely holding on at the coffee shop, where Sarah's nervous glances told me my job hung by a thread. But the fight wasn't just about me anymore. It was about Malik, Maya, Jamal, and every kid facing a school board ready to erase them. Riley and I spent days rallying support for Lena's petition, knocking on doors and gathering signatures from parents, teachers, and even a few local business owners. Maya designed a striking logo, a rainbow woven with black and trans pride flags, while Jamal, defying his mom's worries, snuck out to distribute flyers at his school. Tanya wasn't happy, but she'd softened after I visited her, promising to keep him safe. "You're stubborn, Casey," she'd said, a faint smile breaking through. "But you care. That's something." The night of Thornton's town hall arrived, held at a community center on Patton Avenue. Riley, Maya, Lena, and I showed up with a small group, our petition now boasting 1,200 signatures. The room was packed. Hundreds of people split between Thornton supporters and our allies. Karen Holt stood near the front, her pro-life signs now joined by free speech, not indoctrination banners. Thornton himself took the stage, his polished suit and smug grin screaming privilege. "This town's being torn apart by divisive agendas," he began, his voice booming. "We need free speech, real speech, not the kind that silences parents or forces kids into radical ideologies. Our schools should teach facts, not feelings." The crowd roared, but I felt sick. Free speech was his shield, letting him cloak hate as principal. I thought of the slurs spray-painted on my car, the cop twisting Jamal's arm, the school board's push to ban trans kids from sports. This wasn't about speech, it was about power. Lena whispered, "He's setting the stage. We need to counter this now." When the floor opened for comments, I stood, my legs shaky but my voice steady. "I'm Casey, and I'm gay. I've been punched, my car's been trashed, and my job's at risk because I dare to exist. Free speech doesn't mean freedom to harm. It means kids like Malik, who's black and gay, deserve to learn without fear. It means trans kids like Maya's friends deserve to play sports. Hate isn't speech, it's violence." The room exploded. Cheers from our side, boos from Thornton's. Karen Holt shouted, "You're twisting words to push your lifestyle." But Maya stood, her voice cutting through. "My lifestyle is being myself," she said. "I'm trans, and I'm not a threat. Banning us from sports or classrooms isn't free speech, it's erasure. You don't get to decide who I am." Jamal went next, his hands trembling but his eyes fierce. "My brother Malik got suspended for fighting back against bullies who called him slurs. The school did nothing to them. That's not fair. That's racism and homophobia, and it's got to stop." Tanya, in the audience, wiped her eyes, pride mixing with fear. Thornton's supporters heckled, but our allies clapped louder. Then came the twist. A woman in her 60s, wearing a church pin, stood up. I braced for another attack, but she surprised me. "I'm Evelyn, a retired teacher," she said. "I taught kids like Malik and Maya. I used to think being neutral was enough, but I see now it's not. These kids need us to stand with them, not against them. I signed your petition, Casey." The room hushed, then erupted again. Evelyn's words shifted something. Cracked the wall Thornton had built. More locals spoke, some for us, some against, but the tide felt different, like we'd pierced the narrative of fear. Thornton tried to regain control, but his polish was fraying. "This is about parents' rights," he snapped. "Taxpayers like me fund these schools. We demand accountability." Lena took the mic, her voice like steel. "Taxpayers like you dodge millions through loopholes, Mr. Thornton, while teachers buy supplies out of pocket. Don't talk about accountability when your wealth drowns out our voices. These kids deserve schools that lift them up, not push them out." The crowd roared, and Thornton's face reddened. The meeting ended in chaos, but we left with momentum. The next day, we delivered the petition to the school board, and local news covered it, quoting Evelyn and Jamal. The board postponed their vote, a small victory that felt huge. But the real win came a week later. I was at the coffee shop when Sarah called me to the back. "The owner's backing off," she said, almost smiling. "Customers are asking for you, Casey. They want the rainbow guy. You're keeping your job, and you can wear your pin." I laughed, relief flooding me. That night, Riley and I celebrated at a dive bar on Biltmore Avenue, joined by Maya, Lena, Jamal, and Tanya. Jamal grinned, holding up a soda. Malik's school just started a diversity club. He's joining. Tanya squeezed my arm. "You helped make that happen, Casey." "Thank you." As we toasted, I caught Riley's eye, his smile soft and proud. He was heading back to Atlanta soon, but we'd promised to make it work, long distance for now. I wasn't naive. Asheville still had its Karens and Thorntons, and the fight for kids like Malik and Maya was far from over. But we'd carve out space, a foothold for change. Looking back, I see how far I've come. I started this scared, hiding behind a coffee counter, thinking one punch could break me. But every step, reconnecting with Riley, standing with Maya, amplifying Jamal's voice, taught me something. Courage isn't fearless. It's showing up despite the fear. Love isn't just a feeling. It's a fight, one worth every bruise. And change? It starts small with one voice, one pin, one petition, until it's a chorus. I learned that allies can falter, like Sarah or Ellen, but they can also surprise you, like Evelyn. I learned that racism and homophobia aren't separate battles. They're woven together, and ignoring one weakens the fight for all. Most of all, I learned that my truth, my identity, isn't a burden. It's power, a spark that can light up others. As I sit here, Riley's hand in mine, I think about you, the reader. If you were in my shoes, facing a town split by hate, with your job, your safety, and your community on the line. How would you approach it to achieve the best possible outcome? Would you speak out, even if it cost you? Would you build bridges or burn them? I don't have all the answers, but I know this. Every choice matters and every voice counts.